Okay, welcome to Houston Oasis, a community, now we're going to call it a compassionate community grounded in reason and celebrating the human experience. As you can tell, this is already turning out to be an atypical Sunday. It's already Memorial Day weekend, which messes with us, but Johnny Ollie Risby, our sound guy for today, has all the sound stuff in his car, but he's stuck. And apparently there's like 2 major interstate shutdowns in the city like right now because of fatality accidents. So he's just been sitting on I-45 inbound inside the loop forever. He'll get here when he can get here, but we're gonna have to make do without sound until he does. Our normal sound person, TC, who's also our music coordinator, is on tour, which we're always excited about that for her to have those opportunities. So normally we kick things off with music. I'd like to hold off on the music so that our musician Tony might have some sound later in the morning. So unless you want to sing a song together or something like that, I didn't think so. Okay. So, yeah.
Mike will run the boat indoor.
Right, yeah. The other news is that the children's room has moved because we were beyond capacity and we're already expecting more children today. So, and it's another reminder of why we need our own space, like sooner than later. So we have places for the kids to go and grow. We can't snag an extra larger room for them every week, but they've been very nice to us today. So when you see people, if you see other people with children come in that are looking for the children's room, it's moved down to the live oak room down there. But there's a bazillion Oasis youngsters here today, which is wonderful. So we're going to make do until the sound stuff gets here, but we just mainly concerned that Johnny is safe. So when he gets here safely, we'll give him a round of applause for sweating it out for us today. He's trying very hard to get here. And so what I think the best way to do this is to completely mess up our morning schedule and do things backwards and upside down, and just fit things in as we can. So what we'll start with is our community moment. And then we'll move into a few other things, and then mix and mingle. Then maybe we'll have some sound and some music, and then we'll get it done eventually. So thanks for bearing with us. As newcomers come in, please remind them that this isn't a typical Sunday. We normally do things much more smoother. Okay. Smoother, yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with a community moment, which is something we do each week where someone from our community comes up and shares maybe a story from their life, something they've been working on, an idea, a project, a book, something about a book they've read. It can be almost anything. If you'd like to do one, please get with me. We now have community moments pretty much up through August 24th, so if you volunteer to do one, do not get your feelings hurt if I put you in September. We're not putting you off, it's just we've had that many volunteers, which is great. So today, we're excited to welcome our fellow Oasian, Amanda Hernandez, who's gonna, many of you saw the video clip of her presentation before the Houston City Council recently, where she mentioned her beloved community by name. And so we're going to turn it over to Amanda to talk a little bit about that experience and what impelled her to speak to the City Council. Let's welcome Amanda Hernandez.
Is this on? Good morning, and thank you so much for having me today. As he said, my name is Amanda Hernandez. I'm a grassroots activist and organizer. By the way, please stop me and let me know if you can't hear me, okay? All right. So I'm a grassroots activist and organizer, which means I join many people in communities, local and statewide, as we rally, lobby, and testify at public hearings on many matters relating to human rights, such as rights to health care, education, voting rights, and most recently, equal rights. I mostly use internet activism to raise awareness between my daily life activities as a stay-at-home parent to my 4- and 2-year-old. But I'm also a stay-out-of-the-home parent when I bring my kids along to meetings at any House, Senate, or other chamber or rally location. I have found that it really is possible to effect positive change when people come together with their voices and their participation in legislation at all levels of government. In our immediate community, history is being made with the fight to pass the City of Houston Equal Rights Ordinance. It's been many months in the making, with many activists coming together with letters, signature petitions, and collective activism to help make it official. Once the mayor and city council brought the ordinance to public hearing a few months ago, hundreds of people have filled City Hall to share their stories of having been discriminated against personally or knowing someone who was discriminated against. What if we as a society had some kind of decree or law in place? Would maybe their antagonists have thought before committing the crime of making them homeless, kicking them out of a restroom or restaurant, harassing them, firing them, or inflicting bodily harm? Or they at least would have been unable to get away with the crime. I testified to City Council a few weeks ago about someone I knew, and I said, I'm an openly atheist member of Secular Houston Moms and Mothers Beyond Belief. I'm also part of a great free thought community, Houston Oasis, who stand by the fact that people are more important than beliefs. 6 years ago, I would have been standing here to ask you, City Council, to vote against this Equal Rights Ordinance, because I truly believed it was right and good in the name of faith to say that who someone loves is an abomination, and who someone identifies with as their gender is something that can be looked down upon as unnatural. Today I know that the reason faith and government should never mix is because there are thousands of gods and faith denominations. Today I know that standing against equality at any level enables the grief that comes from being unable to be with the one you love, or the pain of being treated as less than equal citizens. It took seeing firsthand the worst that can come from no protection from discrimination to change me. When I began training for paramedic school, I came to care for the victim of a hate crime. She was a transgender woman who was shot multiple times in the head and chest. Parts of her organs and tissues that should have been inside her skin were strewn about the gurney and across her person. It was caring for her wounds in attempts to save her and closing the body bag over her in death that made me begin to question my anti-equality views. We shouldn't wait for one more person to lose their home, their job, their dignity, their sense of worth, or even their life to say, as a city, we believe that equality matters. And while this ordinance does not fix all obstacles to full equality for the LGBTQ community, it is a good place to start. Please vote in favor of this ordinance. And that's the end of my testimony. I'd like to tell you a little bit about the ordinance itself. This is a slideshow put together by Robert Leach. He's also a hero activist who was so kind and gave his permission to share this with you today. So what is HERO? It is fabulous. Okay, and for those of you who are engaged in online activism, if you want to join us on Wednesday, tweeting, talking about it on social media, this is the hashtag we are using, hashtag HERO. What does the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance do? HERO prohibits discrimination on the basis of characteristics in city employment, city services, city contracting practices, housing, public accommodations, and private employment. What are protected characteristics in the ordinance? You're protected on the basis of sex or gender, race, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, familial status, marital status, military status, religion, disability, sexual orientation, genetic information, gender identity, or pregnancy. In other words, this is not just an issue for the LGBT community. Although it should be noted, in Texas, there is no federal law to prevent discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. There is no ordinance or law or anything to protect them here in Texas. There are exemptions, and people who are opposed to the ordinance have been heavily spreading false information that there's fear of pastors and priests going to jail for not marrying gay people, or that if they don't make a cake for a gay person, they're worried about going to jail. This is not true at all. There are exemptions for the following groups: private clubs, religious organizations, private schools, federal, state, county, or other local government entity, and military discounts. These are all groups that can be exempt from the ordinance. There can be investigations once the ordinance is passed. A grievant shall file a complaint with the City Office of Inspector General no later than 180 days after the alleged violation. The OIG will make a determination and try to conciliate the issue. If not, then refer it to the city attorney and likely municipal court. There are penalties if it is found that there was discrimination for any of the characteristics mentioned from the ordinance. It's a potential Class C misdemeanor. Notice, no one's going to jail. And it is with a fine between $250 to $500 with an aggregate not to exceed $5,000 on the same complaint. There's been a lot of fear-mongering going on from the religious right and conservatives who do come. They do show up at City Hall and they do testify, and they say that they are scared of going to the bathroom, or their wives or their girls going to the restroom with a biological man. And this is just completely unfounded fear, because the fact of the matter is transgender persons are statistically more likely to be a victim of violence than a perpetrator. So this is one thing that they've been talking about a lot. And we'll be happy when everyone just gets to do their business and stop talking about bathrooms. Who made the cake? I don't know if y'all saw the news or in the Houston Chronicle, but there's been talk about people are going to be forced to make swastika cakes, something the opposition has been saying, spreading this fear-mongering. And they actually had a pastor come in and tell the Jewish city council member that yes, if their religion is against it, they will not serve Jewish people. And that's pretty sad that they're standing there saying, because of what I believe, my religion allows me to discriminate against you. They really and truly believe this. So that's why I think it's important, as people who believe that that people are more important than beliefs, that if you're interested in getting involved, please do, because there are people who aren't so very nice that are letting their voices be heard. There are 7 council members that are definitely voting yes on the ordinance. So we have Ellen Cohen, Mike Laster, Robert Gallegos, Jerry Davis, Ed Gonzalez, Larry Green, and David Robinson. And I do have a sign-up sheet in the back, and I can send you all the information on how to find your city councilman. We do encourage people to call, because every day these extremist churches are calling and letting them know, do not pass this ordinance, because I don't want you to, because it's bad. So if you're interested in calling a favor, please just let them know your opinion. And like I said, I have a sign-up sheet in the back. These are the people that are definitely voting no. We're not sure if we're going to sway them, but I think it's important for the record to note that they hear the opinions of all their constituents, so that they're not just voting on, their own. And these are the people that are on the fence.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Who are the no's?
What's that?
Who are they?
Oh, the no's. This is. I'll start with the young lady on the. What is this? Your right. This is Brenda Stardig, Michael Kubosh, and Oliver Pennington that have said that they are voting no. And all right, and then the next slide is the people who are on the fence, and I'll start from right to left, from the top row to the bottom. This is Dwight Boykins, Bradford, Stephen Castillo, Dave Martin, Richard Gwynn, and Jack Christie. So ending discrimination is not a piece of cake. If you can help out in passing it, they are going to have yet another public testimony hearing on the 28th. And you can sign up in the back. I'll go ahead and close now. Here is one example among many instances of social justice. I know there's no time to go into all the incidents of injustice in humanity, past and present, but remember, it was only a few decades ago that there were still signs that said whites only, blacks only, segregation in bathrooms, in the education system, and many public places. Change only started when people started taking their fight against discrimination to the streets, talking within their communities, and ultimately going to the chambers and places of power to pass laws to protect them and to undo the wrong of racial inequality. And yes, we still have shadows of race inequality even today, but it's now against the law. And you can no longer put up a whites only sign without consequences. So that's just an example of something that this can be compared to. This fight for equality here in Houston is just part of a wave of change that could help so many. One day history will look back on equality legislation such as the Houston Equal Rights Ordinance in the same way we today look back in awe at the past need to outlaw segregation. One day when equality is the norm, we will wonder how anyone could think it was decent to refuse service, evict, or discriminate, or even hurt or kill someone for being different. Change does not just happen. Change is made one person at a time. If you're interested in being a part of the public hearing or testifying, or on how to contact your city council member, like I said, I have a sign-up sheet in the back. Thank you so much for listening. Then I have time for questions if you have any.